When everybody's on board, let me know.
We're adding folks now. Lynette and Carol, if you want to turn on your microphones and your cameras.
I see Heather.
Lynette, you're on mute. If you want to unmute, please.
Good evening.
Carol, can you talk?
Yes.
Great.
Hello.
We should be good to go. Thanks,
All
everyone.
right, good.
All right. Yeah, and before we get started on the questions, let me remind you that you will have the opportunity for a 1-minute introduction. The questions are our moderator, former Mayor Elihu Harris, will give you some questions to answer. You will have a minute to answer those, and then you'll have the opportunity for a minute closing. If you keep an eye, I'm going to be the timekeeper. You will get a notice when you're at 15 seconds left, and then you will get a stop. So please make sure that, you sort of pay attention to that. I really appreciate it. And with that, I'll turn it over to former Mayor Elihu Harris.
Ladies, good evening, and thank you for participating in the Alameda County Democratic Central Committee Candidates Forum. Let me, first of all, ask each of you to take 1 minute and tell the community, and certainly those who are watching, why you're running, and more importantly, why you should be elected, or in the case of Councilmember Gibson McElhaney, re-elected, what you'll do during the next 4 years if you are elected to represent District 3 in the Oakland City Council. So I'm going to start with Ms. Fife.
Thank you for this opportunity to be here with you all this evening. My name is Carroll Fife. I am the director of the Oakland, California Alliance of Californians for Community Empowerment. And I'm also one of the co-founders of Moms for Housing. And when I moved to Oakland in 1999, I was paying a rent of $500 a month. Today, it is almost impossible. It is impossible to find anything other than a closet for that amount of rent. I've stood on my service to community for decades in this community. I've taught in Oakland Public Schools. I've contributed to food and clothing giveaways. I've always centered service in everything that I do. Right now, it's been really difficult, but we are in transformative times, and I was forged for this moment right now. Hundreds of Oakland residents from not just District 3, but across the city have asked me to step into leadership at this particular moment against my desires. But I've done so, and I'm willing to continue my service in this new position in order to bring the transformative change that is so necessary to address the increasing demands from COVID, to address the demands of our community, to defund.
Excuse me, your time is up.
All right. Councilmember Gibson McElhaney.
Thank you, Mayor Harris, Honorable Kathy Neal, and to the selection panel. I am Lynette Gibson McElhaney, and it has been just an honor and an absolute privilege to serve my community as the District 3 representative since 2013. When I ran in 2012, I was not apolitical at any means. And in fact, I came in without any backing, but with a desire to serve, to live out my life's purpose. I'm a first-generation Californian, which means my parents arrived here as those Southern migrants in search of warmer suns. And I have to tell you, we're still searching. I've been privileged over the past 8 years to work with a diverse group of people to address some of our most difficult challenges in terms of our environmental justice and housing. But certainly progressive has to mean making progress, and doing policy meets activism at a place of where you have to harmonize collective wisdom. And I'm here to continue that work in love and in faith and in partnership with everyone in our community. Thank you for having us tonight.
All right, thank both of you. Look, District 3 is one of the most interesting districts in the city, because it represents obviously neighborhoods, but particularly represents downtown and City Hall. I want to ask you, given the number of homeless people who are in District 3, I think you probably have the largest percentage of people who are homeless in the entire city, either living in or somehow connected to District 3. What is your answer for how to deal with homelessness? Where would you build them? How would you find the funding for it? How do you think the problem should be resolved? And what do you do about gentrification, given the number of people who moved into District 3 just in the last 10 years? I'm going to start with Councilmember McElhaney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The issue of homelessness and displacement is really complex, and I've had to learn it because District 3 is home to nearly 2/3 now of our city's homeless. But California is home to 1/3 of the homeless in the nation. And so the state has a problem with building enough housing, and we have a serious and significant challenge as it relates to income inequality. Now, solving that at the local level is going to require us to do things on 3 different levels, as I've come to discover. One, we need emergency response. And I'm looking forward to, after 4 years of working with successive generations of our city administration leadership, to having a discussion in September with how we're going to revive again our response. We have to work with our state partners to increase our funding, and certainly, hopefully with the new administration come 2021, to restore HUD funding, because we are woefully behind on the critical federal supports that are needed.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Ms. Fife.
Just really quickly, I'm not seeing the signs that tell me how much time I have left. Where are those located?
You have about a minute, so just do the best you can, and then we'll try to let you know when you're near the 15-second mark.
Carol,
got it.
Carol, are you on grid view or speaker view?
Speaker view.
If you put it on grid view, you should be able to see everyone.
Nah, I don't know how to do that. It's fine. I'll just try to.
Look at the top right-hand corner of your computer.
Why don't you go ahead and ring the bell at 15 seconds?
Because she's not going to hear it if she's talking.
Well, okay. All right.
If you look at the top right corner, you'll see something that says either grid view or speaker view.
It's I don't see it, but that's okay. I'll do my best. I'll do my best.
All right. Sorry about that. Would you like me to do an audible, say 15, and then stop?
Just ring the bell until she hears it.
She won't.
Take a breath. And we'll do the best we can. Let's go.
I don't want to cause this much problems. I apologize. Could you repeat the question?
Right, just go ahead.
Could you repeat the question, sir?
Oh, well, the question was simply, the homeless problem is obviously exacerbated in District 3. There are more homeless people in District 3 than any other council district in the city. I'm asking what you want to do about it, what you believe can be done about it, and more importantly, what are you doing about the issue of gentrification, given the fact that it's probably the most gentrified district in the city?
Well, I think that the first thing we need to do is address the speculative nature of housing. Unless we deal with the root causes of why these things are happening, then we won't come up with the proper solutions. I think Moms for Housing was the pinnacle of that particular issue, and which is why people from all over the world resonated with the fact that the average income earner in the city of Oakland cannot afford to live here. But that's partly because that the development that's allowed, the market rate development, has pushed all of the affordable housing that was formerly available out of the reach of most working people. And the fact that the housing wage is $40 an hour is just insane. So one of the things we need to do is limit market rate development so that we can have affordable housing available to folks. We also need to fund things like the Oakland Community Land Trust and other land trusts that allow people to actually access and change it to
time.
Thank you. I have a lot to say about housing. Lots to say about housing.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Let's move on to another issue that I think affects District 3 and perhaps District 7 more than any of the other districts, and that's the issue of the Oakland A's. The Oakland A's are currently occupying property at the Coliseum site between 66th and Hegenberger and bordering on 880 freeway. They want to move. They want to move into District 3. Where do you stand on that issue? What do you believe should happen relative to this sale? of the existing Coliseum? Should they get a sole source bid on that? What do you want to see relative to the A's staying or going? But more importantly, what do you want as an appropriate trade-off for what the city would do in order to keep them? I'm going to start with you, Ms. Fife.
I personally believe that public land should be used for public good, period. I believe that the city of Oakland, we need to close the deal on our public lands policy that we haven't been able to finalize to date. I believe that we need working class jobs. We need union jobs for Oakland residents. And right now we're at risk of losing thousands and thousands of jobs, no matter what decision is made. I personally believe that the existing footprint would be a better location for people and the environment. But I also believe that the A's moving to Jack London Square would potentially bring more revenue into the district. I'm concerned about the impacts on transportation and what mitigations will need to be made. And I'm also concerned about the potential displacement of the people or the jobs from the port. So I think that what I'm in a process of doing, because these are not my decisions, the decisions are made by me based on the needs of the people that are most impacted. I need to do some robust listening to the folks that are most impacted.
Stop.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, Ms. McElhaney.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I know that Oaklanders want and they want their last remaining major sports franchise to stay. And so we have insisted on an engagement that is respectful to the neighborhoods, to the neighbors, to our workers. And so for that, we're going to look for the information to come out. There's a long road to hoe for the A's at Howard Terminal. And so it's got to make sense for them. It's got to make sense for the community. As a legislator, I'm looking for the information to come back so that we can see where it is and what it is and those impacts. And we have to make sure that there is no harm. Now, we have made sure that hundreds, almost thousands of Oaklanders have been engaged in a process, both in terms of community benefits and also examining the environmental and fiscal impact of the city of the proposal that's in front of us. But I have to tell you, after many decades of Oakland negotiating from a place of low self-esteem, I'm not in that position. The A's have to deal fairly and honestly, and the deal has to make sense for the people of Oakland, both at the Howard Terminal site as well as the Coliseum site.
All right, thank you very much. These are obviously difficult questions to answer in 1 minute, but I appreciate that you're all trying to be concise and really try to be on point. So thank you both for that. Let's talk a little bit about the Port of Oakland. Port of Oakland is often called the economic engine that drives not only the city of Oakland, but our region. What do you think about the port as a neighbor? What do you think about the port as an economic engine for West Oakland and our District 3 in specific? And what would you change, if anything, relative to the port, the way the city relates to the port, or the way that it operates? Or are you satisfied that the port is doing what it ought to be doing relative to the city and particularly your district? So I'm going to start with Ms. Gibson McElhaney.
Thank you. The port is an absolute economic engine for both the city and for the region. And for that reason, it's critically important. For nearly a half a century, Oaklanders have invested significantly in the development of the port, whether it's from the dredging and to make sure that we had a competitive international airport, robust real estate at Jack London Square and the port lands that are in the Coliseum area, as well as a working industrial port that is a gateway to the world and the fifth largest port in the country. And so for that reason, we have to protect commerce. Oakland has been very serious about protecting blue collar jobs that come from there. And a commitment to our community with the redevelopment of the Army base was to make a world-class logistics center. I've been very delighted to have worked and fought for that logistics center to continue to provide the jobs and to allow for us to have job recovery and to improve our environment in partnership with groups like the West Oakland Environmental Indicators Project, so that we're improving air quality and addressing and mitigating some of the other harms as it relates to trucking. There's so much more to say, but good growth has got to be at the bottom line. I can see you, Ms. Neal. I have it in the view, so you don't have to. I can see the cards. Thank you.
I understand. I just wanted to be fair to both of you so that if you have to have an audible, then you will both be getting it, so nobody is disadvantaged.
Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Fife, you're on.
So I am proud to say, like, not only was I employed at the Port of Oakland in the engineering department in 2001, I also was a part of the negotiating agreement for the community benefits agreement with the Oakland Army Base Redevelopment Project. I worked in coalition with the West Oakland Environmental Indicators Project through Oakland Alliance and other community groups that were a part of renegotiating what the benefits would look like for West Oakland and for District 3 as a whole. I facilitated numerous town halls to get input about what it should look like for jobs and a robust community benefits agreement that banned the box and that did numerous things to bring working class and living wage jobs to working class people. Oh, I'm sorry, what was that?
15.
Thank you for your audible. So I think that the port should be a stronger partner. I've worked with organizations that have been trying to get more support from the Port of Oakland to be in deeper relationship with the city.
I think you better maybe give you about a minute and 15 seconds. I don't think we can really get a good answer in a minute and give them 15 seconds to close. So why don't
Well, I understand, but since Ms. Fife can't see the signs,
yeah, I mean, by the time,
and you have the option of extending the response time if the question is more complex.
my only concern is once you said 15 seconds, you said stop almost the same time. 15 seconds goes by so quick, but it's okay. I'll leave it to you. But I just was saying that when you're doing the audible, it doesn't really give a lot of time once she hears it to finish the sentence. But that's okay. We're doing the best we can. This is inconsistent, but the Bible technology. Let's move forward. One of the issues, certainly I think is going to be critical to the city, and I'm going to start with you, Ms. Fife, is the city's budget. The city is in a virtual crisis, given the pandemic, given the budget shortfalls, the revenue shortfalls. There's going to have to be some changes, either by increasing the revenues coming into the city or by cutting programs, whether it's the police or fire department or public works or something. What would you do in the next year's budget? They've kind of put together a patchwork budget for this year, but next year it's probably going to be even worse. So I'd like to hear what some of your ideas are for how we balance the city's budget in the next budget cycle.
Well, I don't believe in austerity. I don't believe that we need to do that. I think that we have everything that we need right now. I think if we defund the police department and reallocate part of the 40% that they take from our budget and allocate those to other places, then I think that will help create new revenue sources so that we don't have to cut. Our city workers have been burdened with furloughs and cuts for years and they've never been restored. So I think we need to take that into consideration and make sure that we don't have to cut our fire departments who are already struggling with infrastructure and resources, so that we don't have to cut city workers. I think we can, if we do something as small as making sure that police officers are not going to traffic stops or other things, we could save inordinate amounts of money. I've worked at City Council trying to find new revenue sources in every single budget cycle through the Refund Oakland Labor and Community Coalition, and I'll continue to do that.
All right, thank you very much. All right, you're in the eye of the hurricane, Ms. Gibson McElhaney. You're on the City Council now. You obviously know the challenges the city is facing. What do you think the city should do relative to certainly its next budget, given the difficulty the City Council faced this year?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm really privileged and pleased that I've gotten good at this and that I've been on the prevailing side of every budget that we've passed since 2013 that has cut the furloughs and restored our workforce. And even in this mid-cycle, when we were looking at 190 million, it was the Equity Caucus's insistence that we would do so without brownouts or without laying off our staff. That said, we're looking forward to passing the Schools and Community First initiative in November so that we can reclaim that. We're doing very seriously with the repurposing of the general purpose funds from OPD. And then we will also, as we've already begun through the mid-cycle, look at realignment for efficiencies within our department. Oakland is too decentralized and we have a lot of expense throughout the departments and duplication of services. And so we believe that we can maximize our staffing if we take another look at it and really start from a values-based budgeting place, which will allow us to maximize and maintain our staff. But schools and communities first is a game changer. And we're really looking forward to having those revenues restored to the city. That even as we're going into a time of declines, we will see an infusion of capital for our city so that we can not only maintain, but expand our service levels.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Just challenging questions to ask, answer in a minute. You guys are doing great. Let's talk a little bit.
We are have about 5 more minutes for questions and then closing.
Let me ask you a little bit about business. Obviously, District 3 represents downtown. There are 2 issues in downtown that I think really need to be addressed. Lack of business. Many businesses have been closed because of the pandemic, because of the protests that led to broken windows and property destruction, but also just the whole concept of bringing more jobs and shopping into the downtown, more retail into the downtown. I'm going to start with you, Ms. Gibson McElhaney. What is your plan for the restoration of downtown as a business center, but also as a retail center, so that people downtown can have shopping, both for food as well as for goods and services, but also to bring other businesses, small and large, into our downtown?
Thank you for the question. I've been working very hard since 2013 to restore downtown vibrancy, and very pleased that we've been able to attract major retail with Target, Sprouts, grocery, and not only in the downtown, but throughout, with Community Foods in West Oakland, and overlays and business incentives to ensure that we have downtown retail. Right now, we're working with the Black Business Funds so that we can raise an additional $50 million to allow Black businesses to be restored, working with philanthropy and several independently raised funds, and very pleased that through the CARES Act that the Equity Caucus put forward $6 million for our small businesses, as well as additional technical assistance. So not only for them, but the support through our ethnic chambers to make sure all of our businesses, women-owned businesses and mainstream, are able to come back. We're looking forward to working with the Recovery Council that the mayor has set up, which is a regional body, so that we can make sure that our community is able to respond to the crisis and that we'll be able to return. It's requiring a lot of advocacy, working with the governor's department, with GoBiz and others, but I'm grateful that I have great relationships, both regionally at the state level, to support our business community.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ms. Fife, same question to you.
I do have to take this opportunity to say that to be on the prevailing side of a budget when the mayor has to break a tie because the community voice is ignored is not necessarily the right side of history to be on. And I have got to say that because for years, in every single budget cycle for the last 2 years at minimum, the people have demanded a certain thing that has been ignored by the city council. And so I hope that my leadership on city council actually brings democracy back to downtown, the downtown area, so that we can really begin to have the type of city that all of our residents deserve. So in terms of the recent uprisings, that I take issue with the way that it was framed, but we do need more development in terms of people-centered development that center small businesses versus these large corporations that get subsidies to come in here and push out small mom and pop organizations, small mom and pop businesses. We need subsidies that allow small businesses to open. We need to cut the red tape that allows businesses to actually thrive. We need subsidies for rents because the rents are too high, and we need the same type of protections for small businesses as we've pushed for renters in the city of Oakland. I can't begin to describe this in 1 minute, but I look forward to having more conversation with residents.
All right, Ms. Fife, thank you very much. But thank you both for answering some very difficult questions with very limited time. And I'm sure the people who are listening, as well as the people who will hear you in the weeks ahead, will continue to ask those questions, answers, questions for which, again, the answers are very difficult. I'm going to give each of you a minute to summarize why you're running, why people ought to vote for you. Again, whatever you want to tell them that you believe is persuasive in terms of your candidacy. I'm going to start with you, Ms. Fife.
Did you say Carol?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Your 1 minute closing.
1 minute closing. I'm I'm just going to keep it really simple. I am a servant of the people. There are folks in City Hall that think I work there because I spend so much time there already. I'm doing the work without the salary. So what I intend to do and why people should vote for me is because I put my heart first and I serve the needs of the most impacted, and I'm not funded by the Police Officers Association or big developers, but I'm simply here to do the best interest of the folks that need the most help, who are struggling to stay here. I've done that my entire 2+ decades in the city of Oakland and will continue to do that. And I look forward to being the elected representative of a district where I've spent the majority of my adult life. And I hope that this transformative time gives birth to the power and to the deep need that our folks are demanding at every single turn. I will do everything in my power to represent the will and the need of the people in District 3 and to bring the change that is needed to the city of Oakland.
Thank you very much. All right, Ms. Gibson McElhaney, you have the close.
I want to thank you all for taking the time to listen in and to engage in this critical debate. I have to tell you, as somebody who's still a fairly neophyte to politics in this way, coming from activism, coming from 2 decades of affordable housing development, advocacy, and counseling, I have found that where we need, our communities need, my community needs, the transformative power of government. But that means being able to bring people along. I have found that in this seat, activism has to meet the ability to get it done and to have respect along the way, and that you're bringing community in together, not in a divisive way. I've been very pleased with the progress that we've made, but I'm not satisfied. We have to continue to come together as Democrats and not tear one another down or try to figure out that there's some litmus test for who is real. I lead with love, and you know that it's different for a woman of color to be in this seat, and we know that it is difficult to get things done. I would ask for just 15 seconds to talk about the budget, if I might, Mr.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mayor.
I gave Ms. Fife a little more time. You take 15 seconds to finish up.
Then we can get this 5:15.
I'm moderating. Let me do my job. Go ahead.
Thank you. And so what I want to say to each of us who have to come to this decision, I'd be honored to have your endorsement and your support so that we can continue the really difficult work. Because while we've been passing these progressive budgets and moving things along, expanding aid for our children and our environment and doing that work, we've also done it in a responsible way that has improved our Moody's rating and allowed us to reduce our costs so that we can have greater service to our community. I respect everyone who's in this room, but as we are having the national debate, we're also having it here in Alameda. So let us be progressives that lift up one another, build on each other's ideas, and take the next step forward. This is a transformative moment, and we need skilled leadership to get it done.
Before I get beat up, I gave you more than 15 seconds.
That was 30
Thank
seconds.
you.
I apologize, but again, all right. Thank you again for both candidates. We appreciate your answers, and we know this very very tight time frame, and you have a lot more to say, and I'm sure that you'll have an opportunity to say that during the weeks ahead in the campaign. So thank you both. We can bring on the candidate for District 5. We're going to move right along.
Thank you. LynetteForOakland.com.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
All right, folks, we're gonna end this one and move on to the next panel. Let me get